René Cardona Jr. is more or less, he's the Roger Corman of Mexico. He's a very fun director. Probably has actually, along with Buñuel, probably directed more Mexican movies that have played in America theatrically than any other Mexican director. One of the most popular exploitation movies that ever is played at the New Beverly. Every time we play it, it does well, is his Jaws movie, Tintorera.
Oh, yeah, Tintorera.
Yeah. I
just had a really wonderful conversation with Alfonso Cuarón in Rome. I was at the Rome Film Festival and he was there. And I had just seen a René Cardona Jr. movie, so I just brought it up to Alfonso and he goes, oh, yeah, that's a really good movie. And we had 30 minutes talking about René Cardona Jr. And then a couple of Italians tried to get in on it. They go, who is this guy? And then I go, well, he's like Antonio Margheriti. And Alfonso goes, yes. I go, but he's better than Margheriti. Yes, he's better. But he's not as good as Leone or Bava. No, he's not as good as he's in the middle between Margheriti and Corbucci and Bava. But he's damn talented. And anyway, I'm happy to see anything of his. This is one of those ones where I go through the exploitation stuff and I'll put it on and I'll watch it for about 15 minutes to see how interesting it is. And if it's really cool and it's interesting, okay, stop it. Save that for Roger. Yeah. I'll watch it with me and Roger. And then so we watched Hostages, and man, oh man, was this a fucking action movie.
So I had no expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about the movie. It was like watching a William Friedkin action sequence, but for an entire movie.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It had the pace of
That's
that.
exactly what it felt like. What would be in a William Friedkin movie a 12-minute sequence or a 13-minute sequence? Is the entire movie.
Like, if William Friedkin decided to make a movie about a bunch of terrorists that went into the house in Roma.
Yeah.
Right on.
Which is like, I was thinking, because I thought about Alfonso Cuarón when I was, you had mentioned
it could have been the house in Roma. It could have been the house in Parasite.
Yeah. And it wasn't even trying to talk about that, but it was there.
It was there.
It actually subtly talked about all of that because, I mean, when I was young, I lived in Mexico. And when we lived in this place, Ajijic, it was exactly like Roma. Mm-hmm. And so I was watching this movie, and when they suddenly, these revolutionaries who,
they're crooks.
Well, that's what revolutionaries do to finance the revolution.
But that's not the case here. They were just money-grubbing crooks. No. They act as if they're a Bader Meinhof terrorist group, but they're not. They're just about robbing casinos.
I guess that Nada-looking one,
Nadia, yeah.
Or maybe some of them I think are about the cause. Like, I do think the chick...
Well, the cause is fuck the rich.
I mean, yeah. Like, I mean, but to the point, within that group, I think there's varying degrees. Like, I think the three that we spend the most time with just wanted the money. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's other people in there that really did think, like, hey... this is really going to, eat the rich.
Well, the fact that there's this massive, crime gone wrong.
Yes.
And everything...
crime gone right. They actually get away with the fucking money.
Well, they get away with it, but they've had to split up, and people are getting caught, and a few are getting away, and we've lost our car, and we have to actually walk through the rich neighborhood with our machine gun.
Yeah, after this big, gigantic robbery happens, so the Stuart Whitman, who leads the cops, and then Hugo Stiglitz, they're pulling a dragnet. So they're going to arrest everybody all at one fucking go. And it's one of the exciting things of the movie that all this happens. So you're able to do all this really fun cross-cutting because there's always something going on. And it seems like there's never a time dissolve. Yeah. It always just seems to be happening at this
in
minute.
real time.
Yeah. Because there's about 4 different parallel stories between when they split up from the big group of 8, I think is what it starts off in the beginning. And then I don't want to pass over too. There's also an inspector, and he's basically Walter Matthau in Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's Stuart Whitman.
He's very much just like, okay, I'm going to be this. And I think between him and Hugo Stiglitz, the two of them, I just love their sort of
me too.
Well, it's like they had Stuart Whitman for under a week.
5 days.
And so we got him in a room for the whole movie on the CB or whatever, talking to all the other cops.
Yeah.
And then we've got him for our one final action scene at the airport.
In a way, it matches our film Cocaine Cowboys as far as this is actually pretty fucking plausible, what's going on here. In a movie full of wildness, this is actually completely plausible, where 3 of the most desperate meanest motherfuckers of the entire
the baddest
group.
of the bad ones, the leader and the other.
And the two most violent.
Yeah.
And the brothers.
Yeah.
Two brothers who are the most violent, like brothers right out of a Peck and Paw fucking film. So they're in like a Bel Air. They're in the Puerto Rican version of Bel Air.
Yeah, very much so.
And you see some rich Bel Air fucks, all right, driving through, and one rich young girl, drinking champagne, and throws a champagne bottle behind her because she's a rich fuck. All right, who cares? That's what rich fucks do.
Smashes on the ground.
And so smashes on the ground, and they drive over it, and it gives them a flat tire.
Trapping them in the rich neighborhood.
And well, it ends up trapping them because they have stolen the car. And the way they stole the car is they ripped out the ignition. Yeah. So they don't have a key that can get to the spare tire that they don't even know if the car has.
Yeah, it's like the fruit of the capitalist pigs is exactly what has
so now,
trapped them.
They're holding machine guns and they're stuck in Bel Air on foot.
Yep.
And so they have to just keep moving. And then finally they decide the best thing to do is just take over a house, do a desperate hours, lie low until nighttime, and then possibly sneak out.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. And so then they take over the house of Francisco Rabal, from Sorcerer and many other Italian movies. They take over his house, which is a full house. He's got a lovely wife played by Marissa Mel. All you fans of Danger Diabolic, she's the star. And her hot sister.
Yeah.
And they're a 14-year-old or 13-year-old private school.
The maid and cook.
Yeah. And the maid and the cook. And they hold them under hostage. And then eventually the cops on the outside start realizing that they're holding them hostage, and then a siege happens.
But the thing is, it isn't just anybody's house that they went into. They went in the house of the industrialist capitalist pig.
Yeah.
Who is basically...
He's the president of a tobacco company, I think.
President of a cigarette company, a tobacco company in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and you actually see like the
only thing worse would have been making it like a sugar plantation owner.
Yeah. You actually see the line of the factory, all right? You're rolling the cigarettes and stuffing the tobacco in, which is actually really cool.
And then suddenly we're presented with something of a conundrum as an audience member, at least for me as an audience member, which is, am I rooting for the industrialist pig cigarette manufacturer and his family?
Well, of course you are.
And I know I am, but
he's a good man. At least the way he handles his family. He handles the situation.
Yeah,
he handles everything well.
He's not a pussy. He's not, but he doesn't try to get too much.
Except at the very end. I think that's...
While his family's getting on the plane, he runs...
No, you guys misread that. He heard the brother say, well, once we get in the air, I'm going to fucking kill that bitch. He didn't say those in those words, but it was like, I'm going to take care of shit.
Okay.
And that's when the father made his move.
Oh, so you're saying he did it to protect...
Yes,
oh, so
because he knows, oh shit, once they get in the air, he's going to fucking kill my daughter for killing her brother.
Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe. I just thought he was trying to get away at that moment. And like, just because of the way he looked back like he was saying.
No, he was luring him away because if he runs, the guy's going to go after him, and that presents a situation for the cops to kill the other guy.
Well, this is perfect moment for maybe a rewatch. I just have to point out one quick thing, though. Let's talk about the girl that I knew was dead the minute she showed up.
Oh, so there's a friend of the sister.
Friend.
Yeah.
And like any movie like this, like obviously, it's been very brutal. There's tons of, on the side stories, the one thing they very much established is that anybody could die. Yeah. Because we got very invested in some of these side characters, and then they would die. Like the girl that like literally gets squashed by a bus. It was just brutal. And we literally followed her literally through the movies. But
again, we got our entrails shot by there.
Very realistic death.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When she gets knocked, and then when they cut to her and her intestines have all kind of exploded out of her body.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely to the point where we had to rewind to make sure like that's what it was, because it was like that sort of like visceral to see. But when she shows up and is just like not listening to anybody, she shows up, she's just like, oh my God, I'm just coming over anyway, girl. First of all, I thought in that moment, I don't care what time of life it is, any friend of mine just invites themselves to my house, like, no, you deserve the electric chair. Like, no.
But like one of the things is
I actually did not mind that she died. She got,
I mean, seriously.
She literally was asking for
Does
it.
anybody outside of maybe your like overly intrusive mother. And even then, like, no.
But these are truly the idle rich. What are they doing all day long? They are people. It is in the morning. It's before school. The girl hasn't even gone to school yet. They haven't come to pick her up. And people are driving around drinking champagne and throwing the bottles away because they've been out partying all night long.
And this movie did a clever trick, though. They let us spend time with the family before we got to the heist. I think for this exact reason, because otherwise we had absolutely no case, I feel, to be emotionally attached to any of them by the time we're getting to the climax where they're trying to get away on a plane and you're just hoping that the bad guy's eyes dim out before he realizes that the jig is up. We had to spend that early time with them.
The movie opens in a disco and, and it's the family.
Yeah.
And you actually get to know everybody and you actually have a sense about them.
Yeah.
And they're not all perfect. There's like, you know, little minor tiffs and betrayals between them, but you experience this family the same way you would if they were like in a sitcom or something.
Yeah.
You immediately get invested in who
But
they
also,
are.
I think Francisco Rapal is a terrific actor, and I think he has a lot of empathy. And I think
he's wonderful. He's a great actor.
I think he brings you to his humanity very easily.
I completely identified with this movie because literally, like, that house in Roma, I lived in that house as a boy. Like, the little kid in that even looked like me. It was weird, like, and it took place in the years that I was there. I mean, I remember PRI and marching the streets and stuff like that. It was like, that was what the time period was like. And so when I saw this, I got transported into Roma somehow and thereby into my life. And then suddenly the criminals were there and they had everybody, being held hostage. What this movie did to me was it put me on this kind of crazy roller coaster because on one hand, I was watching this indictment of the ruling class. And on the other hand, you know, we've got a bunch of guys who are just freaking savage villains. I mean, these guys are villains.
You guys keep treating them like they're terrorists. I think it's obvious that they're just criminals. They're just crooks. They were about stealing the casino.
I mean, but that's still not people I want to necessarily like rub elbows with.
The weathermen and people like that, the reason they would rob banks and stuff like that is so that
you can make that. I'm not saying that I think the imagery suggests that, but nothing in the plot suggests that. They just robbed the casinos. But look,
again,
it doesn't
the
matter.
Casinos,
you can take that.
And the casino being the playground for the wealthy and the rich. It's like they're specifically. It's
well, I think in this Latin American country, they just kind of hate the rich, and anything the poor can do against the rich is considered okay.
Well, this is just where the money is. That's going to be where the rich people are. You know what I mean? Like,
I would agree with that. Except that the hostages that they take, did all the details of the cigarette factory. The champagne bottle is the dead giveaway.
Yes.
Because that story-wise, metaphorically, is literally, ha ha ha! Like, you even said that when you were describing, ha ha ha! And smashing the bottle. And that's what derails them.
Everything you're saying is correct.
I think parts of it are purposeful, but I think overall, like I said, I think it's more divided. It's a little bit.
Well, I hope it's purposeful because that's actually what I love about the movie is this conversation that the filmmaker is having about class.
I think that's happening. I just don't think it's reflected in the character's motivations.
Right.
But, you know, at the same time, while the movie's paying attention to that, it's also a pretty goddamn good procedural as far as like how a major city conducts a dragnet.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to, is it the eldest daughter or the sister?
She's the sister of the wife.
Okay, sister of the wife.
The blonde girl.
The blonde girl who shot one of the bad guys. I loved her. Because like that was so random.
She's my favorite of the hostages.
Hand behind her back, and she was like, I'm still absolutely gonna shoot the hell out of you. And was pretty like pissed through most of it.
Oh, she did not give a quarter at all in that whole fucking film.
Not sure that'd be my strategy. Little scared for her, but I appreciate the moxie for sure.
I liked her from the very beginning of the disco scene.
There's one moment that maybe flies in conflict with everything I'm saying, which is when things get bad and they're like, oh, we're going to kill somebody. They just turn and instead of killing somebody who would make sense, they kill the maid.
That was the only thing too, that death. I'm like, that actress must have like not been able to come back.
No, on one hand,
she's on the box. All right, that's the maid on the box. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, on one hand,
what a fucking image.
Yeah.
I mean, on one hand, it's a movie, and so they're like eliminating the character who has not talked. On the second hand, they're killing the working class person.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Who's there, and so that does fly in the face of everything that I said.
They treat the maid and the cook like a piece of shit.
Yeah. And they didn't even care also about.
They don't treat the daughters like that. They give the daughter, by comparison, they give the daughters begrudging respect, even if they're mean to them.
You're cold. Oh, you want to get dressed? Okay, well,
you can go
ahead.
change. Yeah. No, but also, by the way, though, the other thing, so the grand finale is only one of the criminals makes it to the end, and he goes up in a plane, and he looks like he's getting away with it because the family's in there with him. The husband is down there, but it's the wife and the sister and the daughter, and the pilots are like, yeah, dude, like, we're your taxi. Where do you want us to go? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, if you want something, there's something to drink in the back. You can have it. And they've obviously drugged it. As the dude is passing out, he just starts shooting at the cockpit. Yeah. Like, he's not probably going to die. They're just probably, like, just drugging him to take him into custody.
But he's going to go back to jail. Yeah. Fuck that shit. No, I'm taking everybody down.
His whole thing is, we're all dead or we get away. One way or the other.
He says that, like, 3 or 4 different times in the movie.
His
we
thesis.
either all make it or we don't make it at all.
So,
nobody makes it.
That's his thesis.
As he's getting caught, not dying, but as he's getting caught, he just starts shooting at the cockpit. And I'm just like, man.
And it's a tiny airplane. It's like you're in a tiny, like, Cessna-style airplane. So when he opens fire with what I think is a machine gun inside of that thing, everybody who's, like, in between the pilots and him, like all these the family, are jumping to the side of the plane to get away from the machine gun fire as they have a shootout inside of the airplane.
In real life, maybe a few more people would have got shot.
Absolutely. And
well, as it is, enough people do get shot where it's like it increases the jeopardy. It tightens the rope.
Yeah, because the pilots get shot, and then mom gets her moment by landing the plane. And I will admit, look, it was great. It was a great setup of tension, but I just wanted that plane on the ground. That's like the moment when my anxiety comes up because I was just like, oh my God, just land it. And like Roger and Quentin were like, this is hard.
Yeah,
right?
it's like and they're handling it realistically.
No, they actually handle the landing of the plane as realistic. Of all the movies, and I've seen a lot of movies where people have to talk somebody who's never flied down on the ground. I've never seen it done as realistically as this.
Yeah, where there's
all these other
a couple of missed passes, a failed bouncy land.
It was very authentic.
He's doing a really good job. Okay, let's just do it all over again. Let's just start again. Let's do another approach.
It was very authentic, but I was just ready for it to be over. I was like, and that was a physical manifestation of being like, land. But that's a testament.
And that just shows you the power of a movie that is approximately 94 minutes.
Yeah.
Talk about bang for your buck. There's never a moment in this movie where something isn't happening.
Yeah.
And again, it's all action filmmaking. So everything is on the run. Yeah. There's never any planning or any talking or setting anything up. It's all on the run. Everything is going on. Exposition.
It's in real time.
Exposition is on the run. And so there's a whole fabric of things going on at a certain time. But then at some point, it all settles on the hostage story. But it took a while before it settles on them. By the time it does, now that's what you care about. And now that's where the movie is.
Yeah.
It's like a criminal version of a mad, 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 mad world in a lot of ways. Because you have your own little mini adventures. They're all trying to get to the same thing. And there's alliances and breaks within it. 2 of our characters break apart at one point.
This is a fantastic movie. This movie could be remade easily.
Very much so.
Very much so.
I mean, you actually had a good pitch for the second film. You had a good pitch for that one. That could be remade. And that one actually really...
with Tom Hardy as the...
and I think you even said Fox.
Yeah, I said Jamie Foxx as the Kirk Douglas character and Tom Hardy
as the pirate.
Yul Brynner,
Yeah.
Yeah.